Hello, my fellow history buffs. Welcome back, this time to the year 1958. This is Old News, the podcast where we dust off the past, shake it out like an old rug, and see what interesting things fall out. 1958 was a year of tension and transformation on the global stage. The Cold War was in full swing, with the United States and the Soviet Union locked in an ideological and technological battle for dominance. The US took a major step in this competition by officially establishing NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, on October 1st. Created in response to the Soviet Union's space advancements, NASA would soon become the driving force behind America's ambitious plans for space exploration. The Soviets were the first to launch a satellite, but the US was determined to beat them at planting flags on lunar soil. And in the Middle East was the Lebanon crisis of '58, which stemmed from political and religious divisions in Lebanon's fragile power-sharing system, established under the 1943 National Pact. President Camille Chamoun, a Maronite Christian, sought to extend his term, sparking widespread protests from Muslim and leftist factions who favored Arab nationalism and closer ties to Egyptian leader Gamal Abdel Nasser. Chamoun's alignment with the US and support for the anti-communist Eisenhower Doctrine deepened tensions. By May, civil unrest escalated into armed conflict, with Beirut turning into a battleground. Fearing Soviet influence and a pro-NASA takeover, President Eisenhower responded to Chamoun's request for aid. In July, 14,000 US troops landed near Beirut under Operation Blue Bat, aiming to stabilize the government and prevent further chaos. The US presence helped broker a political compromise. Chamoun stepped down, and General Fuad Chehab was elected president. By October, US forces withdrew, having prevented a full-scale civil war. The crisis marked the first test of the Eisenhower Doctrine and highlighted how Cold War rivalries could entangle the Middle East's internal conflict, a dynamic that would shape the region for decades. 1958 was also a groundbreaking year in medical technology. Dr. Åke Senning and Rune Elmqvist of Sweden successfully implanted the first-ever pacemaker in a human patient, marking a major advancement in cardiac care. And the microchip was invented by engineers Jack Kilby and Robert Noyce. This tiny, yet revolutionary device allowed for the miniaturization of electronics, eventually leading to the development of modern computers, smartphones, and countless other digital technologies. This year also saw the patent of Lego's revolutionary interlocking brick design with hollow tubes, greatly improving stability and compatibility. The patent for this innovation was filed in January of '58, granted in '61, and became the foundation of the modern Lego system, allowing bricks from different decades to connect flawlessly. A couple of months after the filing, founder Ole Kirk Christiansen passed away, leaving the company to his son, Gottfried, who played a key role in refining the brick's design and expanding Lego's vision. Popular culture in '58 was shaped by the continued rise of rock and roll. Elvis Presley remained a dominant force, despite being drafted into the US Army in December of '57. His fans were devastated, but the move only added to his mystique, ensuring that his music would remain in high demand throughout his military service in Germany. And Chuck Berry released one of the most iconic songs in history, Johnny B. Good. With its infectious guitar riff and lyrics about a young musician destined for stardom, the song became an anthem for rock and roll and was later immortalized in Back to the Future. In television, game shows were a national obsession, until a disgraceful event rocked the industry. The 21 quiz show scandal erupted when it was revealed that contestants had been secretly given answers to rig the results. This led to congressional hearings and shook public trust in television, prompting new regulations on TV game shows. Hollywood also delivered some unforgettable films. Vertigo, Alfred Hitchcock's psychological thriller, starring James Stewart and Kim Novak, premiered to mixed reviews, but later became regarded as one of the greatest films of all time. And Gigi, a musical set in Paris, charmed audiences and went on to win 9 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. 58 was also the year of the hula hoop craze. Wham-O introduced the plastic toy, inspired by Australian children using bamboo hoops in gym classes. Within months, millions of kids, and some adventurous adults, were twirling hoops around their waists in backyards across America, becoming one of the biggest toy fads of the decade. Wham-O was on a roll, following their popularization of the Frisbee the prior year. Originally invented in 1948 as the Flying Saucer, the toy company renamed it the Pluto Platter in 55, then rebranded as the Frisbee in 57. Inspired by the Frisbee Pie Company, whose pie tins were used for informal tossing games by college students. Wham-O also bought the patent to the slip and slide, which they released in 1961. In sports, the NFL championship game in 58, often called the greatest game ever played, saw the Baltimore Colts defeat the New York Giants in the first ever sudden death overtime in professional football history. This thrilling contest is credited with boosting the popularity of the NFL and paving the way for the Super Bowl era, which started in the late 60s. And baseball experienced a major shift as the Brooklyn Dodgers and New York Giants completed their moves to California, becoming the Los Angeles Dodgers and San Francisco Giants. The relocation marked the beginning of Major League Baseball's westward expansion and forever changed the landscape of professional sports in the U.S. In fashion, Christian Dior introduced the trapeze dress, a loose, flowing design that broke away from the form-fitting styles of the early 1950s. Beatnik fashion also emerged, the term for which was coined in 58 by San Francisco columnist Herb Kahn, blending beat from the Beat Generation and the Russian suffix nik, referencing Sputnik, to suggest a countercultural and rebellious edge. The style emphasized simplicity, individuality, and nonconformity, featuring black turtlenecks, slim-fitting trousers or jeans, berets, and striped shirts, often in dark, monochromatic colors. Accessories were minimal, with scarves or sunglasses adding subtle flair, while footwear included ballet flats for women and loafers for men. Inspired by European bohemian culture, Beatnik fashion projected an artistic, intellectual image that became synonymous with the era's countercultural movement. This has been old news, a year in review. In the words of Winston Churchill, those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Please stay tuned and stay curious.